Mama E again. If this is the first of the series of videos, my notes from the pandemic, go back and check the others. I'm giving kind of a digest form of an autobiography. Didn't start out that way, but I had intended to write my story. And because of the pandemic and because we've been quarantined and because of the events of this year, now just seemed to be a good time. And since we've got all of this technology and we've got ways that we can save our journals digitally, I thought that I'd just have a fireside chat. So there are probably lots of them on YouTube. So do me a favor and just click on some of them. You'll probably learn some things firsthand about what life was like during the periods of civil unrest past. For many of you, this is your first life lesson about what it's been like in this great country of America. You know, I often say when I was younger and we've gone through periods of unrest, I used to hear so often, well, you all ought to just go back where you came from. And where was that? For me, it was Jacksonville, Florida. I was born in Brewster Hospital, so that's where I came from. Even though our ancestors were brought here, they were not given a vote, they did not have a choice, and they built America on their backs. Southern states decided they didn't want to be a part of the United States because they did not want to give up my ancestors. At one of our family reunions, I remember a cousin who was the historian of the family telling us about an ancestor who was a slave that kept running away. I wrote about it sometime later and I thought, maybe that's why we were never comfortable accepting what was being done to us, particularly as we got older and we could identify some of the stuff that was happening and that had happened to our foreparents. When I grew up, I graduated from school here in Jacksonville and I attended Knoxville College, which is located in Knoxville, Tennessee. It is an HBCU, Historical Black College and University. And of course, because I didn't know, because so much of the world was shielded from me, I can remember a time when there was a rally that was being held at the University of Tennessee, UT. KC, Knoxville College, was in the black part of town, much like Edward Waters College is here in Jacksonville. And many of us back in those days, if we went to EWC, had very little opportunity to go to JU, so it was in Knoxville. What I can remember, though, about that experience of going to the rally at UT was how big it was. I thought our campus was big, was nice, was on a hill, and the dorms were nice, and it was well kept, and it was great. But I didn't know that you could sit our school inside their school. And I think I wondered why there were differences. I don't think anybody ever explained, you know, our school was being funded by a certain church denomination, and I don't think anybody told us that we didn't have huge grants coming from alumni and large organizations and large conglomerates, and I guess I don't know, and nobody explained. And not that I wasn't happy where I was. There were some real benefits, I think, to the experience. you know, because if you throw someone out of, if you take a fish that's been in a fish bowl and you throw him in the ocean, the chances are not very good that he'd be able to survive. So being around my people, around people who understood where I came from, understood that we were waiting for parents to send us something, understood that when we got a care package from our aunt who sent me a pound cake and we could divide it among our kids, understood that we would make grilled cheese sandwiches by bringing our bread and cheese back from the cafeteria because we didn't have money or cars to go anyplace else, who understood that that was the life for us. If we had been in an environment where everybody else in the dorm lived differently, I don't know to what extent that would have been beneficial. So my experience in Knoxville College versus the University of Tennessee has stayed with me, but not in a way that caused me to in any way resent the kids who went to UT. I didn't even know them, and their world was probably different from mine. But what I'm sharing with you once again, and I said this earlier, please don't mistake my feelings for any emotions of anger or bitterness. I don't hate, I don't resent. I'm grateful for what God pulled out of that. He took the lemons and made lemonade. But it would be unfair for me to have benefited from those experiences and not share them with you. To those of you who are now trying to get explanations for why the world is like it is, just know it's not new for most of us. Just know that when we're trying to explain, we're not begging you for you to somehow I don't know, take blame for it, for those people who say, but that was my grandfather. But I heard someone say the other day that America needs to repent. If in fact you made your riches at the expense of somebody else, I don't know, I don't know, but maybe that's somebody else. You know, in the Bible, I think, was it King David that was looking to see if he had any relatives that he could show mercy toward. In other words, I've made it, and so I need you all to find out if I've got a cousin or anybody out there that is part of my heritage that I can share with. And I think they said, and I don't remember because it just came to me, but Mephibosheth had been dropped by a babysitter and was crippled and could not believe that someone who had status and who had achieved certain things was actually coming back to make his life good. He couldn't really even believe it. But to believers, to Bible readers and Bible scholars, think of how many times God has required that recompense be paid to people who have been mistreated, who have lost out on things that they were entitled to. The American Indians, I don't know their story, but I know enough to make me empathetic. I know enough to say, wow, that wasn't right. How did somebody discover something that was already there, that was already inhabited? How do you say I found your purse when it's my purse? It has my ID in it. That's just a part of my journey. Once again, it's my sharing with you is to give you a first-hand account of what it's been like growing up in these great United States of America. It's the only home I have, but it doesn't mean that when we find something that's not as it should be, that we don't call it out. Would you help me call it out? This is Mama E, and we're going to continue talking real soon.